Gymnastics can be one of the most graceful, spectacular sports in the world when the moves come off correctly. But when they don't, well, it can be pretty embarrassing for the gymnast. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be a routine gone wrong, but a funny face being pulled whilst performing the routine can be enough to embarrass the athlete. Today, we are looking at gymnastics' most humiliating moments, so stay with us. First up, we're talking Ellie Downing, standout tumbler for Team GB. Downing was involved in one of the scariest, but ultimately embarrassing moments during qualifying for the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. The gymnast was performing her floor routine when she completely misjudged her landing, becoming confused mid-air and landing on her neck. Downing probably won't mind the humiliating fall, as just a couple of millimeters in either direction, and she could have been paralyzed for life, like has happened multiple times in the past. Even after the tumble, which lesser gymnasts would have used as an excuse to retire from the tournament, Downing completed 2 more vaults, showing that true warrior spirit. What was your favorite Team GB moment from Rio? Next up is Shawn Johnson. Stay with us. Teenager Shawn Johnson was competing in the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games when embarrassment struck. She had already won gold on the balance beam as well as 3 silvers when a now famous photograph was taken of Johnson, appearing to comfort a fellow American gymnast who hadn't performed quite so well. Johnson can be seen with her arms around her teammate, apparently giving her words of encouragement. American captain Alicia Sacramone had just made 2 crucial mistakes, and Johnson looked as though she was lending her skipper a shoulder to cry on, which wasn't exactly the case. Years later, Johnson would reveal the pair were actually talking about none other than English wizard Harry Potter, which at the time was mega popular. Johnson later said about the incident, "It's incredibly embarrassing, but we were talking about Harry Potter. It was always funny because people always wanted to ask me about this moment, about how I brought the team together and how I picked her back up. I never wanted to comment because it was so embarrassing." Embarrassing indeed, Shawn, but at least you can laugh about it now. What's the best Harry Potter book or movie, in your opinion? Let us know below. Victoria Komova joins us next. Stick around. London 2012 pitted Team Russia against Team USA on the gymnastics floor once again. Victoria Komova was poised to take gold, but was just pipped at the post by Canadian Gabby Douglas, who had just performed a mind-blowing routine. The then 15-year-old Komova did not take news of her second-place finish well, bursting into tears and having the whole episode captured on camera for the whole world to see. Gymnastics regularly pits teenagers against each other, and when the stakes are so high, it is inevitable emotions will also come into play. So Komova's reaction can only really be expected. Her reaction to being given the silver medal was also captured on camera. She took it straight off as she only wanted Douglas's gold, later claiming that the medal was too heavy. Difficult to know if it was or not really, as these girls are pretty petite, but we imagine it was more than likely a case of gold or nothing for the Russian, and that mentality really should be respected. Do you remember this incident? Let us know what you thought below. The aforementioned Gabby Douglas is next up. Douglas is undoubtedly an inspiration for many after becoming the first woman of color of any nationality to become the all-around Olympic champion. She achieved the feat at the 2012 Olympic Games, the very same games in which she went head-to-head with our Russian friend Victoria Komova. It wasn't all fun and games the whole time in London, though, and as well as providing Douglas with her own piece of history, it also provided a quite embarrassing moment for the then 17-year-old. After helping Team USA to first place and also her own individual glory, Douglas had a bit of a hiccup on the balance beam. During her performance, she never really looked in control and became increasingly unsteady. She stumbled on a landing, with her right foot missing the beam completely and landing on her backside. Obviously, the beams are super thin, so she fell off to her left before catching herself and quite ungraciously lowering herself to the floor. It wasn't to be on the balance beam for the Canadian starlet, but not to worry. Her place in history is safely secure, and she can look back on this moment and laugh. What is the funniest thing you've ever seen in gymnastics? Let us know below. Sarah Vincent's trampoline face is up next. stay tuned. One of the lesser-known events in gymnastics competitions features the trampoline. Less glamorous than the rest, but no less technical. Competitors need to be in supreme shape and have to contort their bodies into some truly obscure shapes to compete at the highest level. Some of the tricks they are able to pull off leave fans of the sport perplexed as to how they're even possible. One such trickster on the trampoline, American Sarah Vincent, was captured in a less than flattering pose whilst mid-routine. Whilst maybe 20 feet up in the air, the American has a look of surprise, mixed with anxiety and excitement on her face, which gave rise to the trampoline face meme. She's in good company though. Lots of gymnasts have been photographed in poses such as this one, and to be fair, the look on their face is probably the very last thing they are worrying about whilst flying through the air trying to win gold medals. So we shall let you off, Sarah. An embarrassing moment instigated by NBC up next. Whilst trying to amp up the drama during the 2012 Olympic Games in London, American broadcasting company NBC caught a lot of heat for editing out a Russian fall. Their incredible gaffe meant that American audiences had no way of knowing the Russian athlete Ksenia Afanasieva had fallen, which ultimately led the way to an American victory. The time delay meant that NBC ended up editing out the fall, but they didn't let the audience know what had previously happened and went for ratings and drama over what had actually happened. Shameful, really. The broadcaster was rightly criticized for the stunt and should really have faced a stiffer punishment than just the disdain of the public. What is the biggest mistake you've ever seen from a broadcaster? Another funny face is up next. British gymnast Ruby Harold was competing on the uneven bars in Rio in 2016 when she was captured with a hilarious look on her face. Having taken a pretty heavy fall just a couple of months prior to Rio, Harold would have been rightfully nervous about taking any more damage and potentially derailing her bid for medals. Her look of concern was unwarranted, however, as she nailed her performance and helped her country to a fifth-place finish. Harold surprisingly retired after the 2016 Games, but it might be this photo for which she is best remembered. It is certainly worth a Google. Nastya Lukin joins us next. Don't go anywhere. Russian-born American gymnast Nastya Lukin, who had dominated the sport for a time in the mid-2000s, came from great stock. Both her parents were gold medalists for the Soviet Union, and she was no different, claiming the gold in the individual all-around event in Beijing in 2008. As we know, gymnasts retire relatively early, and soon after Beijing, Lukin decided the time was right to call it a day. However, she had had the taste of success in 2008 and felt she could be successful in London in 2012, so came out of retirement to compete one final time. On the uneven bars, she took a huge fall, and as she lay face down on the mat, she came to the brutal realization that her famous career was over. She had done okay for herself post-gymnastics, however, and went on to found the Nastya Lukin Cup, a prestigious gymnastics event, whilst also appearing in film and television. And finally, a look of sheer disapproval caught on camera. A member of the Fierce Five, American beauty Michaela Maroney had a moment to remember at the 2012 Olympic ceremony after coming second. Her expression, in which she looked less than impressed whilst receiving her medal, went viral and even drew the attention of President Barack Obama when the team visited the White House. The pair struck the pose together during the ceremony in a bit of harmless fun directed at the gymnast. Having retired from gymnastics shortly after, Michaela will rightly be remembered as a key ingredient of the Fierce Five's achievements, but also for a fantastic pose which spawned a ton of funny memes. Good on you, Michaela. As always, thanks for tuning in today, guys, and remember to join us next time for some more fun and games. Also, why not do us a solid and share this video with any gymnastics fan friends you might have in the depths of your social media accounts. Bye, guys!